Chapter 1. A Strange Proposal. Jason Bennett was an ordinary man, living an ordinary life. A freelance programmer, he spent most of his days working on projects from his modest apartment in downtown Chicago. Life was simple, predictable, and above all, quiet. That all changed one unremarkable Tuesday afternoon. Jason was sitting at his desk, typing away at a code editor, when he received an email notification. The sender was someone he had never heard of, Zara Kell. The subject line read, "Urgent Business Proposal." Normally, he would have dismissed it as spam, but something about the sender's name caught his attention. He clicked on it out of curiosity. The email was brief, direct, and offered an absurd amount of money for a job that seemed equally absurd. "Mr. Bennett, I require your assistance in a delicate matter. I need someone to pose as my husband for a period of 1 month. The compensation will be $500,000. If you are interested, please meet me at the following address tomorrow at noon. Best regards, Zara Kell." Jason stared at the screen, unsure if he was being pranked or if this was some kind of elaborate scam. But $500,000 was enough to make anyone second-guess their instincts. After all, he could at least hear her out. The next day, Jason found himself standing in front of a luxurious hotel in the city. The address led him to a private suite on the top floor. The door opened before he could knock, revealing a tall woman with deep purple skin, striking silver eyes, and long flowing black hair. She was dressed in a sophisticated outfit that seemed almost futuristic, made of materials he had never seen before. "Mr. Bennett, thank you for coming," she said, in a voice that was calm and controlled, but with an underlying urgency. "Please come in." Jason stepped inside, trying to mask his surprise. The suite was unlike anything he had ever seen, sleek, minimalist, and filled with strange, otherworldly artifacts. It was like stepping into a different world. "I suppose you must have questions," Zara began as she gestured for him to sit on the plush white couch. Yeah, a few," Jason replied, still trying to process everything. "First of all, who are you, and why do you need someone to pretend to be your husband?" Zara smiled faintly, her silver eyes softening. "I am Zara Kell, of the Zaltharian people. I am a diplomat, sent to Earth to establish relations between our species. However, my mission has encountered a complication. My people are traditional, and it is expected that all diplomats of my rank be married. Without a spouse, my credibility and the success of my mission are in jeopardy." Jason leaned back, trying to take it all in. "So, you want me to pretend to be your husband so you can keep your job?" "Precisely," Zara said, her tone serious. "In return, I am willing to compensate you handsomely. I require your presence at several official functions over the next month. After that, we will part ways, and you will be free to return to your life." Jason rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of the situation. "And you're sure this isn't going to get me in trouble with, I don't know, the government? Your people?" Zara's expression grew more earnest. "I assure you this arrangement is purely professional. I have the authority to make this decision, and you will be protected under Zaltharian diplomatic immunity for the duration of our agreement. No harm will come to you." Jason's mind raced with possibilities. It was insane, but the money was real. And there was something about Zara that intrigued him, something more than just her exotic appearance. Against his better judgment, he found himself nodding. "Okay, I'm in," he said, feeling the weight of his decision settle in. "But if we're going to do this, I need to know everything, no surprises." Zara nodded, her expression softening into a look of relief. "Of course, Mr. Bennett, I will explain everything in detail. But first, we must prepare. Our first appearance as a couple is tomorrow evening." Jason's stomach flipped with anxiety, but there was no turning back now. He had just agreed to the most bizarre job of his life, one that would take him far beyond the ordinary existence he had known. Chapter 2. The First Event. The following day, Jason found himself standing in front of a full-length mirror in Zara's suite, dressed in a tailored suit that he had never owned before. It fit him perfectly, a testament to Zara's meticulous preparation. He barely recognized himself. The man in the mirror looked like someone who belonged in high society, not a guy who spent most of his time in sweatpants, coding into the late hours of the night. "How do I look?" he asked, still trying to wrap his head around everything. Zara stepped into view, adjusting a silver cufflink on his sleeve. She was dressed in a stunning, flowing gown made of a shimmering material that seemed to catch and reflect light in ways that defied physics. Her hair was styled elegantly, with intricate braids woven through with delicate strands of silver thread. "You look perfect," she replied, her voice steady, though Jason noticed a hint of nervousness in her eyes. "Remember, tonight's event is a formal dinner with several key ambassadors from other worlds. They will be observing us closely, so it is imperative that we appear to be a genuine couple." Jason nodded, his mouth dry. "Right. And what exactly do they expect from us?" Zara stepped back, giving him a reassuring look. "They expect us to be in sync. Our story is that we met during one of my earlier diplomatic missions to Earth, fell in love, and married privately. We've kept our relationship discreet due to the sensitive nature of my work. All you need to do is follow my lead." "Got it," Jason said, though his mind was racing with doubts. He had never been much of an actor, and now he was expected to fool a room full of alien diplomats. But there was no backing out now. The dinner was held at a grand estate just outside the city. The architecture was a blend of Earth and alien designs, with soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, and strange glowing orbs that floated through the air, illuminating the space with a soft, ethereal light. As they entered the main hall, Zara slipped her arm through Jason's, her touch light but firm. He could feel the tension in her grip, and it made his own nerves spike. "Remember," she whispered as they approached a group of diplomats, "you're my husband. Act natural." Jason forced a smile, trying to mimic the relaxed, confident demeanor that Zara exuded. The first few introductions were a blur of names and faces, all of them alien, with a variety of skin tones, eye shapes, and even the number of limbs. But they all shared one thing in common. They scrutinized him with an intensity that made his skin crawl. "This is my husband, Jason Bennett," Zara said to a particularly tall ambassador, with emerald green skin and glowing yellow eyes. The ambassador eyed Jason with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Bennett. I was unaware that Zara had married an Earthling." Jason chuckled nervously, trying to keep his voice steady. "It was a bit of a whirlwind romance. We like to keep things low-key." The ambassador raised an eyebrow, but before he could press further, Zara smoothly interjected. "My husband is a private person, and we prefer to keep our personal lives out of the spotlight." The ambassador nodded, seemingly satisfied for the moment, and moved on to discuss matters with Zara. Jason exhaled quietly, relieved that the moment had passed without incident. As the evening wore on, Jason found himself getting more comfortable in his role. He followed Zara's lead, observing her interactions and mimicking her behavior. The other diplomats seemed to accept him more readily as the night progressed, though he could tell they were still watching him closely. At one point, Zara leaned in close and whispered, "You're doing well. Just a little longer, and we can leave." Jason nodded, grateful for her reassurance. But as the evening drew to a close, something unexpected happened. A young diplomat from a planet Jason had never heard of approached them with a sly grin. "Ah, Zara and her human husband," the diplomat said, his voice laced with amusement. "Tell me, Mr. Bennett, how does it feel to be married to someone so different?" Jason stiffened, sensing the hidden barbs in the question. But before he could respond, Zara stepped in, her voice cold as ice. "My husband and I share a bond that transcends physical differences. Perhaps you should focus on your own relationships before questioning ours." The diplomat's grin faltered, and he quickly excused himself. Jason glanced at Zara, who seemed unfazed, but he could tell that the encounter had rattled her. As they finally left the estate and returned to the privacy of the suite, Jason let out a long breath. "That was intense." Zara nodded, her composure cracking just slightly. "You handled it well. But this is only the beginning, Jason. The next few weeks will be even more challenging. Are you still willing to continue?" Jason looked at her, seeing the determination in her eyes, and found himself nodding. "Yes, I'm in this with you. We'll get through it together." Zara smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression for the first time. "Thank you, Jason. Your support means more to me than you know." As they parted ways for the night, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that he was becoming more invested in this strange arrangement than he had anticipated. The money was still a major factor, but there was something else now. Something about Zara, and the way she had defended him, that made him want to see this through, no matter what lay ahead. Chapter 3. Unveiling Secrets. The next week was a whirlwind of events and appearances, each one more elaborate than the last. Jason found himself slipping further into the role of Zara's husband, and surprisingly, it became easier with each passing day. They developed a rhythm, an unspoken understanding that guided their interactions. Zara was always composed, always in control, but Jason could sense the weight she carried beneath her calm exterior. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of diplomatic meetings, Zara invited Jason to a private dinner in her suite. It was the first time they had spent time together outside of their public roles. The atmosphere was more relaxed, the tension of their performances lifted. As they sat across from each other, sharing a meal that was an intriguing blend of Earth and Zaltharian cuisine, Zara seemed more at ease. Jason took the opportunity to ask the questions that had been on his mind. "Zara, why did you choose me for this?" he asked, his tone gentle. "Out of all the people you could have hired, why me?" Zara looked down at her plate, her expression contemplative. "When I first arrived on Earth, I spent a great deal of time observing your people, learning about your cultures and customs. I needed someone who was intelligent, adaptable, and trustworthy. But more than that, I needed someone who was unassuming, someone who wouldn't attract unnecessary attention." Jason nodded, understanding. "So I was just the right kind of boring for the job?" Zara smiled faintly. "Not boring, Jason. Reliable. And despite your initial hesitation, you've proven yourself to be exactly what I needed." Jason felt a strange mix of pride and sadness at her words. He had never been particularly ambitious, but hearing Zara's praise made him realize how much he valued her opinion. "But there's more to it, isn't there?" Jason pressed gently. "You're carrying a lot on your shoulders, and I get the feeling that this mission isn't just about diplomatic relations." Zara's expression darkened slightly, and she took a deep breath before speaking. "You're right. My mission here is more complicated than I've let on. There are factions within my people who are opposed to any kind of alliance with Earth. They see humanity as a threat, a primitive species that could disrupt the balance of power in the galaxy. My marriage to an Earthling is seen as a symbol of trust and unity, but it also makes me a target." Jason's heart sank as he realized the gravity of the situation. "So this isn't just about appearances. You're in real danger." Zara nodded, her gaze steady. "Yes, and by agreeing to help me, you've put yourself in danger as well. That's why I need to know if you're truly committed to seeing this through. If you want to back out, I won't hold it against you." Jason leaned back in his chair, the weight of the situation settling heavily on him. He had never imagined that his decision to take this job would lead him into something so serious, so potentially life-threatening. But as he looked at Zara, he couldn't bring himself to walk away. There was something about her that drew him in, something that made him want to protect her, to stand by her side no matter what. "I'm not going anywhere," Jason said firmly. "We're in this together." Zara's eyes softened, and she reached across the table to take his hand. "Thank you, Jason. I've been alone in this for so long. It means more than you know to have someone I can rely on." They spent the rest of the evening talking, sharing stories of their lives and experiences. For the first time, Zara let her guard down, revealing glimpses of the person she was beneath the diplomat's facade. Jason found himself captivated by her, her intelligence, her strength, and the vulnerability she rarely showed. As the night drew to a close, they both knew that their relationship had shifted. What had started as a simple business arrangement was evolving into something more complex, something neither of them fully understood yet. But one thing was clear. They were no longer just playing roles. They were in this together, for better or worse. Chapter 4. The Final Challenge. The last week of their arrangement arrived faster than either of them had anticipated. The final event on Zara's schedule was the most significant of all, a summit between Earth and several other advanced civilizations. It was a moment that would determine the future of interplanetary relations, and Zara's success hinged on their performance as a couple. The summit was held at an impressive facility deep in the mountains, far from any human cities. The location was chosen for its seclusion and security, a necessary precaution given the high stakes. As they arrived at the summit, Jason could sense the tension in the air. Diplomats from various worlds had gathered, their presence a testament to the importance of the event. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and Jason knew that every eye would be on them. Zara was as composed as ever, her expression calm and unreadable. But Jason had spent enough time with her to see the subtle signs of stress, the slight tightening of her jaw, the way her fingers tapped lightly against her side. "Are you ready?" Jason asked quietly as they prepared to enter the grand hall. Zara glanced at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and anxiety. "I am. But this is it, Jason. If we succeed tonight, it could change everything. If we fail, the consequences could be dire." Jason squeezed her hand reassuringly. "We'll get through this. Together." As they entered the hall, Jason could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The room was filled with representatives from countless worlds, all gathered to witness the culmination of months of negotiations. And at the center of it all was Zara and her human husband. The summit began with speeches and presentations, each one more impressive than the last. But the real test came during the final negotiations, a delicate dance of words and diplomacy that would determine the future of Earth's place in the galaxy. Zara led the discussions with grace and precision, her voice steady as she navigated the complex web of alliances and interests. Jason stood by her side, his presence a silent but powerful statement of their supposed unity. As the negotiations reached their climax, one of the more hostile representatives, a powerful figure from a race known as the Caraxes, stood and addressed the room. "This alliance is a farce," the Caraxes leader declared, his voice booming through the hall. "The Zaltharians seek to ally with a primitive species, one that poses a threat to the balance of power. How can we trust a people who would place their faith in such a weak and inferior race?" The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Zara and Jason. It was a direct challenge, one that could unravel everything they had worked for. Zara remained calm, her gaze steady as she responded. "The strength of a species is not measured by their technology or their military might. It is measured by their character, their willingness to learn and grow, and their capacity for compassion. Humanity has shown great potential, and I believe that by working together, we can achieve more than we ever could alone." The Caraxes leader sneered. "And what of your human husband? Is he truly a worthy partner or merely a prop in your charade?" Jason felt a surge of anger at the insult. But before he could speak, Zara stepped forward, her voice ringing with authority. "Jason Bennett is my partner, not just in name, but in spirit. He has stood by me through every challenge, supported me when I needed it most, and proven himself to be a person of integrity and strength. If you question him, you question me." The room was silent for a long moment, the tension palpable. Then, slowly, the Caraxes leader nodded, a grudging respect in his gaze. "Very well, let us see what this alliance can achieve." The summit ended on a positive note, with the representatives agreeing to continue working towards a formal alliance. As they left the hall, Zara turned to Jason, her expression a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We did it," she said softly, a small smile playing on her lips. Jason smiled back, the weight of the evening lifting from his shoulders. "Yeah, we did. But this isn't over, is it?" Zara shook her head. "No, the real work is just beginning. But thanks to you, we've taken the first step." They stood together in the quiet night, the stars above them a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the challenges that lay ahead. But for the first time, Jason felt like he belonged in this strange new world, like he had found a place where he could make a difference. And as Zara looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude and something deeper. He realized that their partnership was no longer just an arrangement. It had become something real, something worth fighting for. As they walked back to the transport that would take them home, Zara reached out and took Jason's hand. "Thank you, Jason," she said quietly, "for everything." Jason squeezed her hand, a sense of peace settling over him. "I'm just glad I could help." And as they flew off into the night, they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together.